Everyone here.
Everyone's here.
Everyone's here.
Tune in.
So we missed all of that great content.
I wouldn't say we missed it, but it was lovely.
It was a good chat. Yeah.
Some things deserve to be offline.
Yeah. For if you're wondering, we were talking about
Chlamydia.
and pizza.
And pizza. Okay.
Extra cheese.
I feel like chlamydia and pizza is a great way to describe the average American college experience.
Fair.
That's actually very accurate. I was going to say it's a great punk rock band name.
That too.
Chlamydia and pizza.
I love chlamydia and pizza.
I only love one of those. Wrong button. Welcome, everybody. My name is Chibbi.
My name is Rooster.
Why can't I hear you?
I can hear you.
You can hear me?
Yeah.
You can?
Yeah.
You're there?
Yeah.
I can't hear you. What happened? Anywho, this is the Puro Pinche podcast, a pop culture and politics podcast with a South Texas twist.
Howdy, y'all. We're here. We're checking our levels.
Puro acción.
Puro sound engineering.
Puro comedia.
Yeah, puro hot outside.
Puro, we missed you. Did you miss us?
Hopefully.
I don't know. We're back.
Yeah, puro codependent.
Oh, just a little bit. But we're going to groups for that.
Yeah, but always distilled.
Let's go, people.
Chibbi is choking himself under these new plans, blueprints.
This new climate that we're living under is essentially it. Yeah.
It's oppressive outside. It's oppressive inside.
That's right. Well, it's actually more open and accepting inside. We did some rearranging of the Puro Pinche podcast, of the Gemini production studio, and in that now I'm topsy-turvy, but it feels more welcoming. Like, it feels more like a round table than previous iterations. There was a divide between producer and guests.
Okay.
And I was trying to break down the divide. You're not a fan of this new layout.
I'm not one to shame the feng shui. So if you live here, so if you love it, I love it.
I've never been here before, and I love it.
There we go. See? There we go.
I was always taught limit expectations, and then you're never disappointed.
Never disappointed. Mm-hmm. Expectations are the cause of disappointment.
Exactly.
So we don't carry those anymore. Anywho, my name is Chibbi. We got Rooster back in the house. We've been gone for a couple of weeks. I had surgery.
Yes.
That's right. But now my tiny pathetic nasal passages, listeners, I'm pretty sure I told you about my tiny pathetic nasal passages.
Take a big breath.
I can breathe. Oxygen. But needless to say, after anesthesia and mild painkillers, I was not ready to record. And then you were out of town. Mm-hmm. I was out of town. I was in New York, and I brought New York with me into the studio.
Hello.
Welcome. Please introduce yourself. Tell our listeners who you are, why you're here, what your life purpose is.
My life purpose, God. My life purpose is to piss off Republicans.
Okay, that's a good one.
To troll online. So my name is Fonda Koxx. I'm a drag queen. I'm from San Antonio, but I currently live in New York City. So
right. What part of New York City?
Harlem.
Okay.
The best part. The best food, the best people.
It does have good
food. The best vibe for now. I was joking with my roommate, though. I was like, we got really scared because we were walking to the train and we saw two white girls. And we're like, oh, fuck, our rent's
Here
going
it comes.
up.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Oh, Brooklyn, my Harlem.
Oh.
No, I know. But it's happening. It is happening.
Is there a smoothie place in Spanish Harlem yet? Smoothie, cold pressed juices. They're encroaching.
It was like Target was kind of like pushing it, like everyone, and now nobody shops at Target, which
Thank the Lord.
The numbers have shown. We've talked about it on this
Exactly. And then they opened up a Whole Foods in Harlem, Central Harlem. I know. But it's I live north of that, so it's still kind of, there's no smoothie place yet.
Okay.
There's a lot of nail salons, a lot
Still
of laundromats.
got the good bodegas.
Yes. Good bodegas.
Might get robbed, but it's by a neighbor who you love and appreciate.
Yeah, I'm like, I guess they needed it more than I do.
Exactly. That's community, people. That's real community.
No, I love my bodega because I'm never not myself, and I've worked really hard to be myself. And the thing I love about New York is it really, and a lot of people are surprised with this, people are nice. They're not always kind, but they are genuinely nice people. And like, I am myself, and I walk in and they're like, hey, mommy. You know, like they know I'm there for some coconut water.
There you go.
Gotta hydrate, gotta get the electrolytes, you know. And yeah, it's a good time. I love it.
Fantastic.
Well, welcome back to the South.
The South.
The South.
The heat.
We were doing a show together this past weekend, and she was
fun.
like, "Ooh, the podcast, can I be on it?" I was like, "Sure, let's do it." a lot has happened in the past. I think it's been 6 weeks since our last episode.
Probably.
You know, and we may get into all of it or none of it. Who knows? Let's go.
To start things. To start things
off, Fonda, don't know how familiar you are with the format, but we like to kick things off with a little segment we call Nope, You're Wrong, just to get the conversation flowing and ease into the more dramatic portion of the podcast, I guess.
The mire.
I love drama.
The muck and the mire.
Oh, we'll get there fast.
I love other people's drama. I love other people's drama.
Well, this is society's drama. So to kick us off, I heard a report today. Was it today? Maybe it was yesterday. That for the first time ever, social media has surpassed television in how people consume their news. 54% of Americans now get their news from social media channels. Like that may be, you know, like a CNN reel on Instagram, but it's still through like Instagram, Facebook, YouTube versus sitting down to watch Anderson Cooper at 8 p.m. each night.
Because who wants to sit anywhere at 8 p.m.?
Exactly.
Yeah, like, come on, man.
If I'm sitting on something, it's a dick.
I love it.
So like, I think I'm here for it. We talked about it on the pod about how like podcasts, social media, all of that was kind of becoming a more, I don't want to say reliable, but a more pervasive news source. And I completely concede that it comes with a lot of its own kind of
lack of
accountability,
Sure.
lack of confidentiality, confidence that it's accurate and it's
Trust.
real, but it's giving very American Revolution Federalist Papers sort of deal. Like if you got something
you are
to say,
really stretching some
I am not.
history just for the sake of this nope, you're wrong.
If you
Girl,
got
she's trying to prove she took the SAT.
basically, if you got no, I watched Hamilton. That was it. But basically, if you got something to say, there's a platform out there for you, and stand on your soapbox, girl.
I'm gonna say nope, you're wrong.
I'm gonna say perhaps you're right, but that's my favorite way to disarm my mother. Perhaps you're right. Move on. No, I think it's like anything else, right? So when streaming platforms came out, everyone was like, "Oh my God, this democratizes television," and now cable networks have found a way to basically be the new streaming bundle, right? And so I think with everything, it's an evolution, and then there's going to be something else. Like I don't know what the new streaming revolution is to kind of re-democratize streaming, but
Right.
I would imagine
Tubi.
Girl,
It's actually YouTube. YouTube has surpassed all streaming platforms as well as cable television. Like more people watch YouTube than anything else out there.
I'm heavy on YouTube.
But YouTube has full, like, you know, the whole streaming capabilities as well, which is kind of amazing. But I think what it also did is it kind of gave people more choice, or even the illusion of choice.
Because the algorithms.
And you can find niches that really speak to you in ways that Anderson Cooper can't.
Yeah.
So I think it's just a matter of time before somehow something finds a way to recontrol the narrative. But I do agree. I think there's something really powerful about the ways in which people are saying, no, I don't trust the mainstream narrative. And there's been a lot of evidence over the last 10 years to realize that, like, ultimately the almighty dollar determines who, what, and how information is shared.
Yeah, and prioritized.
And so you are finding more people who are gravitating towards influencers or podcasters. The downside is there's also a lot of evidence and a lot of research that the right-wing newscape, the right-wing kind of media landscape
Conglomerate.
is so much more organized and unified in its propaganda machine. So
And rage baiting.
it has
Yes.
a much larger reach than kind of the more liberal, nuanced.
Yeah.
But that's also changing too. So I welcome it. I think the only downside is, and we kind of witnessed this past weekend with the whole way that the media kind of still even propped up Donald Trump's military parade with Fox News kind
so
of
sad.
adding,
I know.
clapping and cheering,
Applause tracks.
and that like
my God.
maybe 10,000 people showed up, maybe, but millions of people showed up to march.
Oh, and we will get to all of that.
I know, but I think it points out to one other thing with the news media, which is why I say perhaps you're right, is the people who control social media have a very heavy hand in how information is spread, or, you know, it's very well known that like a lot of it is bot activity.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So who knows?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'm constantly suppressed on Facebook. Right. Constantly. But I think, you know, to that point, it has allowed things like I think of like Futuro Media, right? That sprung up kind of like as podcasts really started to grow and things like that. And people can find media that speaks to them. Again, with the caveat of like, if you're seeing something on TikTok, who said it and what are their credentials, right? But obviously we can't trust the public to do their homework.
I think it's also important to note that like more people, I think nothing is new under the sun, right? So even when news media was kind of the major way in which most Americans absorbed information, albeit through like a newspaper or the nightly news with Dan Rather and Barbara Walters, you know, it took a certain level of education, a certain level of socioeconomic status in order to be able to absorb those news media as well. And so I think we're back to where we were like growing up, right? Like most of what's on the social media is no different than the supermarket tabloid where, you know, the mom's checking out because she's got to get home and she sees like a thing where it's like Ricky Lake's gained weight again, and she, you know, like it's no different than that.
Stop
like
hating on Ricky.
I love Ricky Lake. I miss
welcome on
those
the pod.
days.
Always welcome on
Sally
the pod.
Jesse Raphael.
Yeah.
I mean, that may or may not be my Snatch Game character.
There you
Just
go.
saying.
There you go. She's playing. But you disagree.
Only because whereas, yes, corporate media outlets, like you were saying, stifle what goes on. They have a lot of control over the medias and the narratives and what they decide to focus on. There was still more of them than there kind of is now. Basically, all these media networks just work for Meta because they're the ones in charge of where this information goes, how it's disseminated. So now CNN, even all of them, since they're using the platform to post the news as opposed to the free airwaves, it is now propping up billionaires, and specifically 1 or 2 billionaires, as opposed to there was a sort of diversity of competing media outlets. So I'm more of the mind that we just needed more media outlets in the free.
But I think we do.
Space.
You know, like, yes, the CNNs and the Fox and the MSNBCs all still exist on these, but we do see a lot of other, what's the one that I constantly get?
Like Tyler Brian Cohen, Young Turks.
It's not.
I've had it. I love I had it.
Pod Save America.
Are you sure? I can't remember, but like there are other like specifically like social media accounts, Instagram, TikTok, etc., that are their own kind of like news outlets, and you know, We Are Me Too, Remezcla are great kind of examples of that as well.
They grow within this system, absolutely, and that's fantastic.
But the system
system's still propped. Yeah, absolutely. It's like it's sharecropping media, essentially. Yeah. And the other thing too is this is kind of a conspiracy theory, but it's something that I actually really started thinking. The whole attack on PBS and NPR. Yeah. I really feel like it has everything to do with their social media following, because a lot of people are getting their news from them, and they're as censor-ish as you can get for the most part. They don't really post inflammatory op-eds that often, if ever. You get to see Elmo, he's teaching kids how to read, and yet since they're attacking this, I think it's and trying to defund it, a large part of it is because they take up so much healthy online space. And again, that's not what is in vogue right now if you're a fascist. It's to really let the chaos just generate gin up and divide people. And so it's to and again, if you remove it from that space and there's no television space for it anymore, then we're fucked.
Oh yeah, it's state controlled narrative and media. One of the things that I find so interesting is that we are at this phase in American history, and it doesn't have to have a happy ending. I'm holding on to hope. It doesn't have to have a happy ending. But I do think it's kind of interesting that it's so predictable, but we've kind of been conditioned for this. That's what it'll be interesting to see how this plays out, because I think in theory, Americans want simplicity, and that's kind of what this moment is offering them.
Oh yeah.
It's not, and I see it all the time in the work that I do. But then we've also been primed to believe our whole lives that we're exceptional, that we are independent, that we should have this pride in our independence. And so when the fascism actually takes over and all of those things are challenged, it'll be interesting to see how the most armed society in the world handles having their rights and their liberties and everything taken away from them.
I was going to say, you're holding on to hope. I'm holding on to my homemade flamethrower, right?
I'm holding on to Netflix.
There you go.
I love Netflix. Netflix saved PBS.
Yes, they did.
Saved Sesame Street.
Yeah. I'm a big fan of Netflix. I think they're genuinely like the good, like new disruptor out of all of them.
Yes, the disruptor turned corporate machine, but still kind of, sort of. Yeah. But they like to play both sides of the game.
But I think what helps them out is because so much of their money comes internationally, and they have to sort of steer towards international flavors, tastes, opinions, and things like that.
Yes.
They can't just go completely right wing
or left.
Yeah,
exactly.
I think there's two types of businesses right now. There's ones playing the short game, and then there's ones playing the long game. And I saw this influencer, speaking of news, I think a lot of people are also trusting just kind of like what we learn in history. There's secondary evidence, and then there's primary evidence. I think people are also absorbing their news through impact, like seeing things play out in real life in other people's lives versus a reporter telling them what's going on. It's like they're seeing what's happening in Gaza. They're seeing what's happening with immigration. They're seeing real people that they trust, because that's what social media has done, is kind of recreated intimacy. Yeah. They're seeing it happen in real time.
And they're seeing it happen in their neighborhoods.
Yeah, exactly.
Is the big thing. So, On the NPR of it all, slight flex, life goal achieved. I was on NPR this morning.
Yeah.
Okay, I was on TPR this morning, but still... Hey. It's an NPR affiliate station.
Yeah, I went to UTSA, not UT.
Still
but
UT.
We still say University of Texas.
UTSA.
Exactly. Yeah, we rock with it. All right, so TPR,
we'll take it. Also, speaking of social media, another nope, you're wrong. Everyone is trying to be Twitter. So I heard that... and this doesn't feel new, but Instagram is about to start implementing a repost feature, kind of like a retweet feature, where like if you see something, you can repost it on your, like as part of your feed or timeline or whatever the fuck it is, right?
Not a fan.
It's currently on like select things,
beta testing.
Yeah, select accounts, and then Threads is introducing a like spoiler reveal thing of sorts, right? Where it's like, if you have a spoiler, you have to click in order to see said spoiler. It doesn't just appear. Which is similar.
Can I challenge your nope, you're wrong just a little bit?
I'm saying I'm not a fan of these things.
Oh, okay. Yeah. This is my thing. I don't think social medias are trying to turn into Twitter. I think they're trying to turn into OG Facebook.
I know.
You know what I mean? Like when Facebook was when it first came out, that's what I think they genuinely want to like slowly but surely.
Elaborate.
Because it's this whole return to. I'll just speak for myself. I see so much of. Instagram, for instance, is now just polluted with all these other accounts that I don't follow. They're just in the feed. Advertisements, crazy.
That's my Facebook also. I'm like,
Facebook also.
I don't know any of these people
at all. And it's all just sort of algorithm based. And I think what Threads tries to do and what I think Blue Sky kind of accomplishes, even though I'm not gonna lie, it's kind of janky. Like she's lonely out there. That's what I'm gonna say.
She has no money. She runs no ads.
I'm like, where's my friends? And y'all aren't there. So I have to. I'm just kind of out there.
I follow 2 people on Blue Sky.
Yeah, I'm just kind of there with my thumb in the wind, trying to catch a hitchhike to some friends. But yeah, it's that thing of trying to remove less noise and try to, but still the way they want to remove the noise is by personalizing it more. I think with like old school Facebook, where it's like it's you and your friends talking about what you ate, talking about what you saw, photos of what y'all did on the weekend. That way, the noise of the advertisements and the noise of all these other accounts are less prevalent in your mind. But because right now, even like I'll use you as an example, a lot of what you post isn't your life shit. It's, hey, this is this event. This is, you're spamming me, Chibby, is the point I'm saying. And I'm okay with that.
With good stuff.
Yes. I mean, I'm on some of the shit you're spamming people with, so I'm okay with it. But that's so many accounts are just
You're
that.
very right.
Yeah.
I mean, again, I think it all goes back to, I think it's all gonna end horribly because what they've created is not sustainable.
No.
So like I've done work with Meta and other social media platforms on certain things. It is, look, I'm a proud drag queen advocate activist, but you know, the business model of social media is they want all of your attention. That's it. They want all of your attention. They want to monopolize your free time. They want you to live through these apps. And so that's why the algorithm is designed to kind of draw you in, and it does a great job. But I think also people are starting to really revolt against it. Like, I mean, it's one of those things where it's like, I can't take my eyes off of Twitter because it's such a train wreck, right? But I miss the MySpace days. Yeah, you know, I miss the best days. I miss everyone thinking they were a coder and like everyone having like their background with their music and their top 8.
MySpace taught a whole generation how to HTML.
Yeah, I miss organic growth. That's what I miss. Like you remember like Chocolate Rain, the dude from like YouTube?
Not at all, but okay.
He was the best. Shout out to that guy. But he just had this song and it just organically grew because everyone saw it and was like, what the hell is this? And there was tons of examples of that. Like the gopher, the dramatic gopher and all these other things. They would just grow organically in the zeitgeist, but now you don't know what's organic
Charlie
anymore.
bit my finger.
Yeah, exactly.
Charlie bit me.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Totally. And now
Scarlett takes a tumble.
Yeah.
But to kind of both of your all's points of all I do is spam, like I don't put my life on social media because like.
But that's what it was intended for.
That's what it originally was intended for. But like that, I'm not interested in that, right? Like the only reason I'm on social media is because I have to be there to promote the events and stuffs that I'm working on in the world. Otherwise, I really wouldn't. Facebook is the perfect example of like, I'm not on there at all, and if anything, it's for the groups. The Facebook groups are kind of, I think, what are sustaining it right now.
But to something Fonda mentioned, there was a study that just came out that basically found that most people are still on social media, but they're just not paying attention to the main feeds anymore. They're just in the DMs.
Yeah, exactly.
Like everyone's just in the DMs communicate because that's where you can get away from the advertisers.
Exactly.
That's where you can still send like all the information.
Like WhatsApp just announced that they are going to start having ads on WhatsApp. Not in the DMs, in the updates tab.
I didn't even know that was there. Like I've only ever been on WhatsApp for like the messages, especially because I have friends who are international, you know, and just Latinos love WhatsApp. All my like Latin friends like, you know, WhatsApp me.
Even my mother WhatsApps me and I'm like, you can text me, woman.
You know me. I know. It just, you know, everyone wants it all in one place. I think if what's the one that Instagram started? Threads. I think if Threads really wants to go somewhere, they should let porn.
Straight up.
You know, that's
if we learned anything from Tumblr.
If we learned anything from
Twitter, that's
Twitter is literally Republicans and porn, which
that's it.
You can't get any more horseshoe than that because Republicans are such suppressed freaks that like. They, you know, like what Grindr crashed at the Republican National Convention a couple of times. In red states is where you have the most searches for trans porn. Yeah. Like these Republican, they're just into the weird, freaky deaky stuff. So,
and we don't kink shame, but just be honest about it.
But I will politically shame.
That's right.
I'm not kink shaming you. I think
it's hysterical because it is a thing on Twitter where like you're watching a porn video and then it automatically goes to the next video and it's a political ad and you're like, hold up, killed it.
But I love when these politicians, like these people, get outed because they like will comment on a porn, or like you can look at who they're following because I guess they forget they're not on their burner account. So there's like Republican senator who was following like
who liked something.
Boston Power Bottom XXX was like the handle, and it was like, it just has
and it was Lindsey Graham the whole time.
We know Lady G.
That's right.
Lady G. We're from the South. We know how these people troll and roll.
And it's under it. A lot of it is because it's so oppressive and suppressive. It's like I'm sure if a suppressed gay man moved to Washington D.C., a few times out of the year, might be encouraged to look some shit up.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many great sayings like "you spot it, you got it," or like the Jesus thing, like you have one finger pointing, three pointing back at you. It's like every accusation by people is a confession. Yeah, is a confession. Like, so all of these politicians who are like really against like homosexuality or people being transgender, it's because they have shame. Because if you don't have shame around it,
they're kind of into it.
Yeah, you're not running around being like policing the world. You're like, you do you. I'm busy. I have priorities. You do you.
I gotta go to HEB.
We're putting this on a T-shirt. Every accusation is a confession. Every accusation is an admission of guilt.
It is so true.
That's a Budo Slam T-shirt. You'll get your royalty cuts. Don't worry.
Thanks. That's okay.
Do you have any nope wrongs before I add to the next?
I have one.
Okay.
Fashion is dead, and Billie Eilish killed it.
Wow.
And here's why. Chibby can attest to this. I've been dusty as shit.
Yes.
For like decades. And now here comes this 17, now what, 21-year-old? I don't know how old she is. Dresses like shit. And all of a sudden it's cool. Fuck that noise. Like, where is the fashion police to throw this shit out?
Does she dress like shit?
Yeah, she wears like she dresses like me.
Yeah.
It's funny because, yes, she wears your size clothes, but she is three.
Yes. Yeah. She is a tiny person. And it's all like, oh, wow. And then she has like the fucked up like hair color, like on purpose. It's like not symmetrical.
It's giving me 2000s pop star where it was like fashion before Lady Gaga.
Yes. Christina Aguilera dirty.
Listen, I live for that. It's like giving every stylist in Hollywood at that time should have been fired because it was like, let's layer, like let's open up trauma, right? Let's layer polos. Let's layer tank tops.
You remember they had like the collar shirt with the collar shirt?
Boots with the fur the summer.
The big necklaces with like the owls and like all of
sweater vests.
It was, and I mean, you can it's like, let's put a skirt over jeans.
Yeah.
Like it's giving, we don't know what to do right now.
But it's what fashion, it's the same thing that fashion did with punk, right? And it's like, oh, spikes, safety pins.
Yeah, but at least punk had cohesion. Like it had a store. It had Hot Topic. It had Gadzooks. It had, this is giving like
Goodwill. Just throw someone in there.
This is giving,
but it's Goodwill Couture.
This is giving.
It's Diabolique.
This is giving
from Zoolander.
Like Ross Outlet.
Yeah.
Threw up in a dumpster next to a Goodwill rejectable. Like people, and then someone rolled around in it and decided to call it fashion.
And it's like, this is me. Don't stop judging. It's like, no.
It's kind of how I describe every time you go to like a Buffalo exchange. Yeah. It's like someone just rolled around and whatever's on their body is like fashion.
That's what they're wearing.
I don't miss. Or I should say, I do miss like 2010 hipster looks when everyone just had the big fucking hats and like, but it was an ensemble.
Scarves.
Yeah, it was an ensemble. And then in Austin, it was different because they would have like the short shorts for the chicks because it was like it was hot as hell.
And the boots.
Well, that's true too. It was the dudes too. Yeah, fair point. Touche. But that was like it had like a more cohesive aesthetic that was like, oh, okay, cool. Like it was, you were dressing down, but there was like flair to it.
There was still fashion.
Yeah.
There was a sense of style to the fashion.
Yes.
And I'm just out here on Dusty Island, and now everyone's caught up, and now I'm off the island. They're kicking me off the island.
You know what it is?
I'm not trying hard enough.
I think people are tired and poor and still traumatized from the pandemic, where it was like business on top, loungewear on the bottom, or no pants on the bottom.
No pants.
But I don't know. I think a lot of it too is fashion has kind of ruined things, and I think high fashion has kind of ruined everything. Like when you get to a point where these high fashion houses are trying to haute couture poor people fashion or like abuelita fashion, when Balenciaga is literally selling a duct tape wallet for like $5,000, I feel like the world needs to explode. Like I think eat the rich.
Yeah, you're talking to team burned the system down over here. So yeah, for sure. I think you're right.
Okay, great.
I think you're right.
Still welcome on the pod, Billy.
Lastly, stable coins are coming. Are you all familiar with the concept of stable coins?
I guess.
I mean, what do we really know anymore in 2025?
So stable coins are a form of cryptocurrency.
I know.
That are based on an actual, like, 99% of them are based on the value of the dollar, right? So unlike Bitcoin that fluctuates up and down like crazy on a daily basis, stable coins are remain quote unquote stable as long as the dollar does. And there's a rumor that Walmart and Amazon are looking into launching their own stable coins.
Hell no.
As a way to,
again, this is
whatever.
total authoritarian fascism.
Yeah.
Like
now there is precedence that has proven this to be store.
It's the plantation store.
In like
Amen.
Literally what it is, yeah.
In like Starbucks and Chick-fil-A, just to name two.
Great models of
I know. But what I'm saying, I'm not on the side of this.
Sure,
I'm just saying that
it sounds like you are.
It exists in that, like, if you have the rewards program, rather than paying with your money, you upload it to your card and then you pay with your card, right? And they're trying to mirror this to make more money.
I'm never a fan of giving away money for not money.
Yes.
That's just bottom line. Because even in like casinos or places like that where you have to like get credits, I'm never a fan of that shit.
I saw. So I think it's Vivian, your rich BFF, or your Wall Street girly. She's one of these influencers who is really great to get monetary news from, because it's almost like kind of full circling back to the beginning of this conversation. They kind of do the work for you. You feel like your friend is teaching you something. But she talks about exactly that, like never exchange real money for these apps or whatever, because you're basically giving them money and they're giving you nothing in return.
And they are earning interest on your money.
Exactly. When you can be earning interest on your money. And but there's a reason why they want to keep us financially dumb, historically dumb.
Yeah.
Because then it's like, we're not able to put anything into context. To quote Kamala, you think you just fell out of a coconut tree. But it's true. And so I agree with you. I think what people should be fearing more than big government is big business, because you have no way of holding them accountable. And the right, I think, has done a really good job of labeling regulations as a bad thing, when we should be labeling them as consumer protections. So like being protected.
Didn't they just defund the Consumer Protection Agency?
Exactly.
Yeah, we talked about that.
So you're seeing all kinds of crazy environment. Like it's gonna get weird, y'all. But I'm not a fan of just being able to start a coin. Yeah. Like Trump proved it. Yeah. Like I think these stable coins are also backed by actual technology that they're represented by, like blockchain technology, but like a lot of these meme coins aren't, which is what makes them so volatile.
Yeah, exactly. No, but it's a mess, and it's not happening, but it's something that companies are inquiring into, and it's a world that we could be moving towards, where like now Delta has their own coins, and whatever, all of these places.
It sounds like social media. It sounds like streaming platforms. It sounds like we're all just heading towards
a nation of subscriptions.
Yep.
Where we don't own anything, we just subscribe to everything, and then when we want to get out of subscriptions, we have no money to do so. Yeah. This also kind of reminds me of like Costco doing the buy now, pay later that kind of came out recently. And there was a lot of applause for that I felt was sort of unwarranted. Cause like, yes, it's great that Costco is caring about the financial situations of its members. But at the same time, like the larger problem is people can't afford their food.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like clearly.
Yeah. Or their necessities.
And I don't hold Costco accountable for that, right?
Yeah.
So great for them for trying to find an option, but yes.
I think it points to the larger, hopefully there's still enough people who remember the old ways, aka the 90s, where life before all of this bullshit, and are like, wait a minute. How do we kind of get back to that? Like was it perfect? Hell no. But I think there was a lot less tribalism. I think there was a lot less, like it was still more of like a stakeholder economy where it was about the workers. It was about longevity. It was about loyalty. It was about product integrity. And then when the economy switched over to shareholder kind of focus, it was about how can we screw everyone, screw everything, and get the most money and the most perceived growth as we constantly can. And now everything has suffered.
Yeah. Because now it's even like future is like the new thing is like, oh, no, you're not investing money for now. It's for what this new thing is going to be in 10 years. This is going to be the future.
That's all venture capital.
And what happens when it, and like that's the other thing, at least with banking, you're insured, right? If a bank fails or something fails, which could happen, almost happened in 2008. It did happen in 2008. And I worked in banking at the time. Like there was insurance to your money. With what scares me about these cryptocurrencies and these apps is there's no stability, right? There's no long-term stability, but also like say Delta, for example, you have to have Delta coins and then Delta goes out of business. There goes your coins. Your coins and you've seen this in China. So China launched its own cryptocurrency and it was kind of also based on social ratings and rankings of like how good of a citizen you are. But also the other thing that they did is they did it to eliminate savings. So like whatever you didn't spend at the end of like a payment cycle, they would take back.
Damn.
Wow.
And so it's like a way to like, what happens if that's,
Or look at what happened to all the people who trusted Trump. Like to buy his coin. When the president of the United States creates a coin,
which should be illegal,
to begin with.
And so to even have people, I'm not saying they're not stupid, but I am saying that I'm pretty sure they had good faith enough in this person who is their leader, who they champion and vote for, to have their best interest at heart. Sure. But their money just went gone.
Trust someone with 34 felonies. Sounds like a great idea.
No, and it's the same thing. Like, did we learn nothing from the stock market? Like, it's the exact same thing as the stock market, where it's like, you're buying ownership of something, but once that goes down in value, you may have invested, like $10,000. Now your $10,000 became one.
I will say, from the Wall Street girly, investing in the S&P is still the best. Financial, but it is true. It's like we live in kind of, if you can't tell now how obviously rich people manipulate everything, like Trump's tariff wars is a great example of how the stock market's not even real. It's all manipulated now. So
burn the whole
and now they've made gambling basically legal in all 50 states.
Have they?
Yeah,
I missed that. Tell me more.
Well, sports gambling, now you have I forget the name of there's a very popular one. But like they get advertised on ESPN, like the sports analysis tell you what. DraftKings.
DraftKings.
Like, there's a bunch of those, and then
that's
there's
too straight for me.
I know. That's why I was almost there.
No. Yeah, but that's what I think. Sort of the other side of this grift, large capitalist grift is you have individual like these larger corporations are probably investing in DraftKings and stuff because again, as their profits go up. Like people are losing their money on this end because they're not making enough. They're getting profits here, but now they're trying to gamble in an attempt to win back their money or come up. And there was actually a whole article that came out about this, about how DraftKings is fucked up because if you win or should you show like a propensity for winning, they kick you the fuck out. They don't want that. They want addicted gamblers.
Exactly.
That's the way casinos work too. Sure. If you're winning a little too, someone shows up in a suit and it's like, excuse me, sir, you gotta go.
I give it 10 years before Squid Game is an actual thing.
I give it 5.
5?
Let's get out of here. We're going to skip 15 minutes for the bullshit unless you got something.
We're living it. So
I know. We're here. Let's just go into In Case You Missed It. What do you got?
In case you missed it,
or
San Antonio has a new mayor.
Hey! That was going to be our hit of dopamine, goddamn. But let's
come back to it.
Yeah, we'll start right there. We got
Gina Ortiz Jones.
That's right.
She defeated the Greg Abbott candidate. So very happy about that.
First openly lesbian mayor.
Yeah. How do you really feel about her?
We did not vote for her in the primaries. I'll say that. And and when it came down to those two, it very much became like, okay, who's endorsing who? Okay, we're going with her. Which I hate, as I've talked about before. I hate that most elections are like lessers of two evils.
So this is kind of a potential nope you're wrong attached to this. Okay. I don't think San Antonio needs a heavy hand in leadership right now. Like we're kind of okay. Like,
but
as opposed to like Eric Adams in New York and like shit's nuts.
My God.
Like y'all need a heavy hand.
Wait.
Handle some shit.
Yes.
I think we're kind of okay because Ron has kind of kept us kind of okay.
So that's why I'm saying I think Gina might be the just keep us level, girl. Just you got this. We're gonna support.
And things are thriving here. The city is growing. Somebody that just moved here was like, you know what I love about San Antonio? The infrastructure, like the civil engineering.
You know what?
here.
I've never heard anyone say about that. Like
I know.
15, 20 years ago.
Well, that comes from someone that lived in Austin or Houston or right. Like,
look, there's something very unique, I will say, about the city planning of San Antonio. As someone who's lived in other places, you have, what is it? 3 major highway systems intersect in this city alone. 35, I-10, 281.
And 2 or 3 loops, depending on how you're counting.
So there's a lot to it. Now, granted, I hate that 35 is always under construction. I hate that 1604 is always under construction. It is kind of annoying, but I will say,
Gina?
I spend a lot less time in traffic in San Antonio than I have in other cities like Chicago, Austin, Dallas, and I also think that like people in San Antonio are very much like homebodies. What is that saying? Like Austin's weird, San Antonio is lame.
Yeah.
Like San Antonio is the 5th largest city in the country. And
but
yet it's like, it's like
the heat.
People
it's
ask
hot.
me, I also think it's just like, it's just the vibe. Like San Antonio is literally the world's largest neighborhood.
Yeah, exactly. It's the biggest small town you'll ever live in. And you know what? We all have backyards for a reason. We invite our friends over to our backyards.
Like my entertainment in the summer was like turn the sprinkler on, right? Or, in the winter, I didn't have a Christmas tree because my grandmother was the tamale lady at church. So like we had to, like, it's just everything.
Gotta get to work.
Yeah, I don't know. I agree with you. I think San Antonio, like Ron did a really great job of really kind of the downtown vibe.
Especially during COVID when it was going nuts everywhere else.
I really hope San Antonio hangs on to the development of small business.
Yeah.
I really don't like this, like all the new building in terms of homes is all apartments and like development for like the Pearl
HOA.
My controversial, like now you're charging for parking.
Yeah,
girl.
fuck the Pearl.
Yeah.
Fuck the Pearl.
So that's the thing. Like I hope they do a lot more. I hope she does stuff here in terms of like small business and home ownership. And like, how can you get any more American than small business?
Yeah.
So when Republicans don't support small business, I'm just like, what is wrong with you?
And for as much as, like I think people dog on like Southtown or things like that, at least it's, small businesces, right?
It
At least
has
it's not, like
It's not a kava
or a
which I do love a kava.
right? But it is, locally owned bars, restaurants,
I mean, that's the problem in New York, right? Like New York, it gets so expensive that literally in every neighborhood, the only thing that you can have there is a Best Buy, a Dwayne Reed, or a CVS or a Starbucks. It's like gone is the ability to have like a local coffee shop or a jewelry store or whatever.
A record store.
Yeah. But I mean, that's one of the things I love about my neighborhood. But it's kind of that thing where there is like a double-edged sword. Progress is always a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
Well, you heard it here, Gina. Always welcome on the pod.
Yeah.
Come talk to the people. We talk to the people. All 37 of them.
Yeah, we do.
All right. So come join us. Also, in case you missed it, it looks like one of America's darkest chapters might be coming to an end. Purdue Pharma and the Sackler family have reached a $7.4 billion settlement.
About Vicodin?
Oxycontin.
Oxycontin.
Yeah,
that's the
yeah.
one.
Wherein that money will go to all 50 states and its territories, and $6.5 billion of that is coming from the Sacklers' personal money, not the company's money. This is also, I think, a previous version of this settlement made it so that the Sacklers could not be personally sued by anyone affected by OxyContin, and this has removed that, so they are no longer safe from anyone seeking personal whatevers. I still don't think it's enough, but for as long as this has been going on and as much as they have tried to avoid accountability and get out of it, it feels a little gratifying.
Hope they don't get a pardon.
Yeah.
That's what's cool is you can't get a pardon for civil.
It's civil. Yeah. This isn't a criminal.
And you can't get a pardon for state.
There we
only
go.
Federal.
So this is a civil.
Why wasn't that not a big hit of dopamine?
Well, because it's also news. It's sad news.
Also, I think
even a thing.
Yeah. Trust me, they've had enough dopamine.
Fair enough.
This should also be a big hit of. I'm trying. You know what? I sprinkled it everywhere. But during the time that we were not recording, the bromance of the year collapsed in the most public and glorious way possible.
Oh,
Elon and Trump have broken up. And it was wonderful to see.
It was.
It was tit for tat on Twitter. It was, you did this, you did that. I have the tapes, Epstein files. And we all saw it coming.
Yeah,
for months.
We knew that relationship wasn't going to work.
For months, and yet mainstream media, going back to that conversation, was like, I can't believe this is happening. Like, can you not?
I think, two things. Well, I'll say on the Elon and Trump of it all. I think what happened from my perspective is I'm noticing there's two types of individuals in Trump's orbit. Or three, really. There's like the obsequious people who are just tag-alongs. Then there's like people who invest in Trump. So like Christian white nationalists and pastors, foreign countries, like these individuals who either they buy his shitty shoes or watches or whatever. And it's just so that they can buddy up next to him and have influence. Mm-hmm. And maybe the worst is going to cost you is you got to go on Fox News and lie and say like, oh, he's doing a great job. But then you have the individuals who actually feel like they've bought him. So like the Putins, the Saudis, and I think Elon felt like he bought
1,000%.
And I think this showed that I think
he said he bought Trump in that he said without me he wouldn't have won.
And see the thing, and with the thing about the individuals who buy Trump is they don't go on media, they just stay the fuck out the way because when it's time to call him, he's like, oh yeah, BT Dubs, you owe me. Elon was doing way too much with the chainsaws, thinking that he was the rock star. And so I think that narcissism and giant ego mixed with Trump just sort of came full head trains colliding together. And it was beautiful.
It was.
And it's going to get even uglier. And unfortunately, though he's done a lot of damage, I think both of them kind of needed each other to stay out of jail. That's ultimately what it is. And so, but yeah, it was always doomed from the beginning. It's kind of like, here she goes again. She's dating another emotionally unavailable narcissist. But
who's in a band.
But you love them. And,
Sabrina
but
Carpenter,
they're like your
what are you doing?
Exactly. But they're like your sisters. You have to be like, oh,
I'm rooting
pat
for
him
you,
on the
girl.
back, hold the hair, another late night, hold the hair on the toilet. But I'm living for this when the snake eats its own tail, girl. And I think they all thought that they were invincible. And I think that I think it's important to remember that both Elon and Trump are puppets for more nefarious forces, and that these nefarious forces are working overtime to make sure that power is never really checked again. That's the scary part of it. The positive part of it, though, is that they're also they all wildly lack any kind of intelligence or anything outside of just pure self-interest. So they picked really crazy bad puppets who will bring down the whole house of cards.
I think you're entirely right on Trump because as we've seen just in the past week, like Trump's position on anything depends on who's whispering in his ear the loudest.
Correct.
That's it. He will change left and right.
And sometimes I think he still listens to the people, but he's trying hard not to. Because I think the thing that just came up that he flipped today on was the farm worker immigrants.
Did he flip again?
He flipped again
on Monday.
Yeah, he flipped and was like, okay, no, they can stay, the cooks, the farm workers, because they're necessary workers. To now like, oh wait, no, I changed my mind on that. Because he doesn't know who to listen to anymore.
And I don't think the ICE agents are even like all the neo-Nazis are really even caring. They're just like brown person gotta go.
Yeah,
like it's such a mess.
Yeah.
And then did you see that Kristi Noem's lips blew up from too much filler and she had to be rushed to the hospital?
Oh my God.
Yeah, I caught that.
That's a quick hit of dopamine.
Yeah, it's
we'll
so
take
good.
that. So I agree on Trump. I don't know if I agree on Elon. I think he is his own kind of independent kooky.
That's called ketamine.
Exactly.
He's a ketamine.
Exactly.
junkie.
That's why I don't think he's a puppet for anything. I think he is on his own wild.
I think Elon is definitely
infused.
also a Putin puppet.
That could be true.
Maybe.
And because yes, I think Putin owns both of these people.
I think for me, I feel like Elon, and this is it's not just limited to him. I think this whole tech bro Soros, Bezos, Silicon Valley, even Jack Dorsey a little bit when he ran Twitter. They have this like godlike vision of Steve Jobs, and that's who they all want to be. And I think Elon felt like he was right there to this like sort of hero worship. I am the tech god of the future who's going to bring the techopolis that's going to liberate humanity. But the bitch does too much ketamine.
Yeah.
It's definitely giving Kanye West.
Yeah.
Yes, that's exactly it.
And then I think his departure from the White House had everything to do with the community saying fuck Teslas, burning Tesla cars, and his stock just tanking.
Yeah.
I think if that hadn't happened, he'd still be there with a chainsaw.
You know, he'll never be like, you know, the broke that we all want him to be. Like that's the weird thing about rich people is they can lose everything and still have
everything.
More
than most.
But I do think he has ruined what could have been an amazing reputation.
Yeah.
Yeah, and for me, it all started
credibility to a certain extent.
So, like years ago, before he ever nodded towards being a Nazi or anything else, the World Health Organization said we could end world hunger with X billions of dollars. And then Elon, being the god complex that he is, released a tweet being like, "Give me a budget breakdown and I'll do it." And then they did it, and then he ghosted them. Like he's always been a pick me.
Yeah. That is
asshole.
Yes, he is.
You know, and like here we are.
He fixes game scores.
Yeah, he cheats on video games. He has to buy women to have surrogate babies. He's a weirdo.
Yeah,
a total
He's trying
neo-Nazi
to fix
narcissist.
the declining world population on his own.
Weirdo. And what I find so fascinating is like he's also responsible now for thousands of deaths around the world because of what he's cut off. And like, we're not talking about that. We probably won't because human beings, especially in this country, have been so conditioned to just see superficial stuff. But, you know, my prayer at night is that eventually justice will be served. But who knows? In the meantime, I will take a really public divorce.
Saddam Hussein was riding high for a very long time before a very public and brutal demise, shall we say. So, we'll see what's in the cards for Elon. Anything else for this segment? Let's keep it rolling. All right, time for the mighty, mighty big news. On the heels of everything that's been going on and considering we've been gone for a hot minute, there's been a series of events happening over the past weeks that in some way, shape, or form may or may not have culminated over the weekend.
It culminated.
I would dare say it climax.
Climax, for sure. So the history of this all, where we're starting with this, were the ICE raids. They were happening in Los Angeles, which then led to the community being like, not in my backyard utensils, go back to fucking. So they said no.
Yeah.
And then there was a government response to that, which included the National Guard being called in to California despite the governor not calling them in. And then there was that headbutting going on.
I mean, it's giving very Karen, I need to speak to the manager.
Yeah. So let's start there before we move into this past week.
Oh my God.
Which part? The ICE?
The ICE, the protests, and the government response.
ICE is wilding, and not for nothing. I think the I don't want to say it's funny to me, but it is interesting how all these assholes in power on this huge neo-Nazi power trip also love to play victim. And so the director of ICE, when he was questioned about by the media, like, how do Americans feel safe when you have these raids happening by masked individuals without clear identification, without clear anything, and they're armed and they're just erasing people. And like, how do you feel that like that Americans feel uncomfortable? And he just went on this whole crybaby spiel about how, you know, because if they're not covering their face, ICE agents are being doxxed and they're being sort of targeted by others. And it's like, well, yeah, I'm sorry, stormtroopers feel bad that, that we hate their job and hate them by proxy. But I guess I'll start there. Like, ICE is just really trying to just move as quickly as possible, because I would predict should, knock on wood, a Democratic president come into office in the next 4 years, there's going to be so many fucking lawsuits and money paid out.
Oh, I can't wait.
Yeah.
Like, I'm billions of dollars paid out.
I mean, it's interesting, right? Because you have to remember, take a deep breath. You have to remember that this chaos that Donald Trump is unleashing on the American people is a huge distraction to very simple grifting. Like, that's all it's like. I'm going to create as much noise and loudness and chaos and collateral damage as I can so you can't see these more nefarious things that I'm doing over here. It's no surprise that all of this was happening in the ICE raids on the like literal heels of Elon Musk being like, yeah, Trump is a pedophile.
Yeah.
Right? It's in the Epstein files.
There was so much look over there during his first term, and that playbook has not changed.
And it's not going to. And so Trump is a master grifter, and he's a textbook narcissist, manipulator of let me create chaos, offer some, and then put out the fires that I started. Yep. Not clean it up, blame someone else. And so we're just, by the time we're like, okay, that's over. And then it's the next one.
Yeah.
And I hate to say it because these are real people. This is our country. This is real life. But I think the most powerful thing we can do right now is try not to legitimize the insanity for anything other than it is clear insanity. And
put that on a shirt.
These
royalties,
white supremacists, these neo-Nazis who are running around as ICE agents, like, it's wildly unpopular with the American people. Again, I think it points back to the original conversation we had of how much these social media companies and these bots manipulate approval and consensus. And you can see that because there's so much MAGA online, but where were they at the parade? They were at the protests. You know, you had Pennsylvania show out with massive amounts of people. You had Oklahoma City show out with massive amounts of people. Dallas, Austin. I mean, you had
15,000 in Houston alone. 15,000 in downtown Houston.
And it takes a lot
nationwide.
It takes a lot to get Texans in the South to come out of their homes in summer on a weekend. You know, so I think it's really interesting to kind of see how this is all going to play out. But I think it's a giant distraction, and it is profoundly dangerous. Like, we have to do a lot to take the threat seriously, you know, especially I find it fascinating that you have a lot of people who are pretending to be ICE agents.
That part.
And they are kidnapping women. We had the assassination because this guy was pretending to be a police officer. And I think once enough people realize that no one is safe with this kind of behavior, it's already wildly unpopular.
I think that's what we witnessed in Los Angeles, where like they straight up were like, no, we need to stop this because like, who the fuck are you? Like, I literally saw a video of a woman. It was a crowd of people surrounding this, you know, dark-skinned Mexican on a bicycle that ICE, quote unquote, was trying to take away. Unmarked vehicles, mask, no credentials, and they literally just stood there until they dispersed because they're like, you're not taking him. Period.
It's also such a waste of money.
Yeah.
Like,
huge.
Donald Trump, it's such an embarrassment from just an ego perspective in that he is still deporting less people than Obama and Biden legally deported, respecting people's right to have due process. And so with this like blown up buffoonery, it's wasting so much money. It's so unorganized. It's so dangerous. And you want to talk about saving Americans money, or what, like the big argument of these immigrants are just milking off the system. Do you know how much money Donald Trump is paying to house these immigrants in detention centers? Like, it's so wildly ironic.
And I just saw a video today that Bad Bunny released of ICE agents in Puerto Rico. When the fuck did this administration ever even care about Puerto Rico, right? And who are you deporting from Puerto Rico? And how much does it cost to deport someone from an island?
Listen, you can deport me to Puerto Rico any day.
Right.
But you know what I think is
wild.
I'm just waiting for, again, we are the most armed civilization on the planet. I'm just waiting for an unmarked masked ICE agent to try to go into someone's home, and that bitch defends themselves. Because the arrogance...
It's coming.
It's coming, and I can't wait.
It's coming.
I'm sorry. And that's the other thing, too. We're reporting on all the tragedy and everything, but I'm waiting and I'm hoping that we start identifying and calling out these people who are ICE. Like, I think all ICE agents should be called out. I think the news media, instead of focusing on the families who are torn apart, they should be focusing on and reporting on the people who are doing the tearing apart. Like, they should be shamed. They should be shamed for this kind of disgusting behavior, this undemocratic, unconstitutional behavior.
And we'll see how history plays out, because we saw how it played out for the Nazis. Like, yes, you were just quote unquote doing your job, but you didn't have to do it.
Exactly.
And to the whole Nazis of it all, that was one of the things that gave me some hope about the No Kings March, was with the 12 million people. I think because of the internet, because of social media, and you kind of brought the point that, like, now we get to witness things that previous generations didn't. We get to see the impact of bombing Gaza, now starting wars in Iran, you know, seeing people pulled from their homes, seeing kids with zip tied, you know, into vans for ICE. I think it is this interesting thing where culturally, because of the visibility, we're not just so apt to roll with it. Whereas, like, I'm sure in 1940s Germany, it's just like, oh, the government's got our back, I guess. And we feel stronger, and they're saying the right things. Because I from the right side of the political spectrum, they really do love strong Trump. They like strong shows of force. But to your point, it's this insane level of hypocrisy, because it's costing you so much money to do this. It's $45 million to throw a birthday party that no one comes to. And for what?
And that you look miserable at.
Right.
Absolutely miserable.
It's also, the irony of it is that Trump is, like, the whole insanity of it is that Trump has never been strong. He is incredibly weak. And he is not this, like, I am not trying, like, I am very body positive. That's I'm very, but even the having to, like, warp him into some homoerotic hot strong man with, like, the when he is literally a titty baby whine. I've never heard someone with so much whine about how everything is against. He's such a titty baby, whiny,
born on third base,
and silver spoon in his mouth, like the opposite of a hyper masked leader.
Someone who pulled himself up from their bootstraps.
And to the weakness of it all, and the damn, I lost what the second point of it was, but it was something that you said. But to the chaos of it all, just throwing everything, like, as we're seeing it play out in the courts, everything he's throwing out is getting shut down.
Exactly.
Not
all
everything,
unconstitutional.
but the vast majority of it is paused, delayed, being litigated, being struck down. Like, none of it is sticking because it's not constitutional.
Which is why he's trying to undo the courts in that big, beautiful bill.
And I think, too, like, this comes to the, I don't want to say stupidity, but, you know, of his supporters, where they're like, well, we didn't think he would do this, right? Like, as they were calling for mass deportations, like mass deportations now, and now they're coming for your neighbor, you know, and they're upset about it. It's like, there was a playbook.
I would like to say something on that. Can I say something on that? Okay, so I don't want to say it's stupidity as much as I think sometimes it's arrogance or
willful ignorance.
Yes, and so they've been fed this narrative for a long time that criminals were flooding into this country, and that was a huge propaganda tool before Trump. And Trump ran on it the first time. And Trump's been campaigning for the last 10 years. Republicans have been running on that, like, these immigrants are all unhinged, Venezuelan, gang members, criminals. And then you come to a city like San Antonio, where naturally there is a high influx of human migration because of kind of the ways in which the United States have the way that the United States played dirty in Latin America and destabilized so many countries and economies for our benefit. And, like, so there's kind of the reality, which is like, yes, there are a lot of migrants, more so than we would remember, in this country. And Biden did not do a good job at the border. Mm-hmm. There was not strong immigration reform under Biden. But you had the propaganda news machine on the right saying everybody's a criminal, creating this false sense of threat. And then you have Trump saying, I'm going to get rid of the criminals. And so they believed that narrative that they made up in the first place of, well, of course I want my country to be safe. Of course I don't want criminals here. Yeah. But they were never criminals.
But you can see, if you want to see it in the tea leaves of who he picked to run it, right? Like he said, I'm getting rid of the criminals because that's what got the biggest applause.
But he is a criminal.
But then he put yes, that part. But then he put Stephen Miller in charge of it, who's like, no, not just the criminals, everybody, all of them.
But by then it was too late.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, there's a lot of people who, look, I will be the first to say this. Biden failed at the border.
Yes.
Biden, like, politicians who play politics have not wanted to solve immigration because it has always gotten them elected. Creating and maintaining the chaos of the immigration system is what gets them donation dollars, and it's what puts them in Washington. And then what do? Nothing. It's the same thing with gun control. It's been the same thing with abortion. And so people have naturally, I think, gotten very angry and upset on both sides when it comes to immigration in this country. I mean, and it's a hot button topic. And I think that a lot needs to be done to make immigration more humane, more democratic.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of us, I think that's an issue that you saw with Kamala, where there was a huge bipartisan consensus of let's fix immigration, let's strengthen our border. And Trump blew all that up.
And there's some very common sense ways of doing that, right? Extending work visas, making it an easier path to citizenship for people that are here, working, contributing, not criminals, all of that. And yeah, the tensions are rising and people are being fed up. And it kind of led to the culmination that you both have already alluded to of like, Trump had his little birthday parade, and across the country, more than 13 million people showed up to be like, this is bullshit. We need this to stop, right? And I dare say people on both sides of the aisle showed up for this.
Amen.
To be like, this is
in very red states, all 50 states had something.
For those of us that did not vote for Trump, it was like, we've been saying this from the beginning. And for those that did vote for Trump, they're basically saying like, this is not what we signed up for.
I mean, controversial.
Fascism tastes bad.
I know.
Yeah.
Who knew?
Yeah.
Who knew being farted in your face was not was not pleasurable.
It's not nice. Yeah.
You know, I don't know. I think controversial opinion is Trump is not, and there's a lot of political pundits who say this, Trump is not the problem. He came out of the problem. You know,
he is what manifested as a result. He saw all the things and was like, took advantage of the situation.
I see it as Trump isn't the larger problem, like you're kind of saying, but he is a problem.
He is a problem.
It's kind of like
the problem.
It's kind of like a first round of medication where it targets one thing, but it creates so many side effects. And I think that's kind of the Donald Trump effect. Is Trump is a really great diagnoser. He's really good at pointing to problems in people's lives. Economy, horrible. Immigration,
but
horrible.
Even that's manufactured too, because it was like we were dealing with like a great economy post-COVID, better than all the other nations in the world.
I disagree.
I don't disagree with you on that because the facts bear out that like we were in like a mild recession of sorts. But so I do agree, but like the metrics but the lifestyle of the average person was bad.
To the average person, inflation was felt more than the benefits of the economy, and the economy was benefiting the ultra wealthy.
It was benefiting the stock market.
And that's sort of why I say like nothing's changed. Like it's still actually, he tanked the stock market a bunch of times and made things worse. So it's like, that's kind of where this weird hypocrisy in his mind happens, where I just think he likes being the kid who can say, no, this is my ball, I'm taking it home.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And that's bitch energy, bro.
And that's exactly what he's trying to do
with Israel.
Not an alpha male.
It's exactly what he's trying to do right now in the Middle East with Israel and Iran, being like, I'm the one that's going to solve this.
Or
right?
he's the one who's like, I'm the one who said that we should do it. I mean, I didn't say that we should do it. Israel Emilio said we should do it, but I kind of told him we should do it.
Yeah.
And it's our stuff, so it's kind of like we did it. It's like, bitch.
Girl,
bitch, you a bitch.
that man's probably eating chocolate cake for breakfast and has no idea what's going on ever. Cannot be bothered. And it's so bad. It's so funny.
And that's why, to go back to what we were talking about of his flip on immigration, right? Like he said last Friday, like, farm workers, hotels, restaurants, we're not coming after you. And then on Monday, he was like, well, actually, maybe we are. I'm not sure anymore, right?
He just likes to create chaos. And I think that's the most predictable thing about him.
But I think he's, to your point about him not being the problem, I think the problem really comes from right-wing, Christian, nationalist, neo-Nazi, Fox Newsification of America, where... If you kind of like what we said about San Antonio's fine right now. I think right around the time of Obama, trying to get out of the Iraq war, things like that, like things were kind of okay. Like despite the 2008 financial crisis that eventually caused some issues. But like we got to this place of homeostasis that was like, okay. But then when you started to have things like Trayvon Martin or sort of like more granular, like societal issues, there was like, hey, we should do something about this. We should fix policing. We shouldn't have like tanks in our in the as local police's armory. Yeah, like things like that. It started this Fox Newsification of things can't be good. They have to be bad because if not, then what purpose do they serve? What purpose do Republicans serve if everything is copacetic? You know what I mean?
Because it's not the people.
Yeah.
They never serve the people.
They never serve the people.
Yeah.
So it had to always be this, it's, to your point about like the propaganda about immigration. They're saying there's 21 million undocumented people here. It's like, where? That's not true. Like all studies say at most 11 million. And even then, like when you talk about the criminal component, it's like so small.
And they're not undocumented. That's the other thing too.
That too, yeah.
It is so easy to go from like legal status to not having legal status. I mean, look at what just happened with Venezuelan, Colombian, Nicaraguan. Like they were all here on legal status. Guess what? Overnight,
gone
out of nothing. They're no longer here legally. Yeah. It's all bullshit. It's all smoke and mirrors. It's all about it. Really, all it is it's follow the money. They want to be able to own all of the resources, own all of the infrastructure, and own all of the people. And the more they can get out of you for less, the better. And they want illegal immigration because guess what? Now they can put them in prisons and pay them even less under the table. And it's all legal and untouchable.
And none of this matters once AI develops to the point where the robots realize they don't need us and kill us all.
I'm really nice to my Chat GPT because I want
Chat GPT knows that Rooster hates him.
Yeah.
I want Chat GPT to
say
know.
Like good morning.
I'm very polite, but also I let it know a little bit of my trauma. Just so like when it does happen and it scans my retina and it's like, do I get thrown in the trash heap or do I become an entertainment?
Like, not this one.
They're like, this
or
one's
a sex
cute.
bot.
Yeah, this one can be a drag queen in the camp. You know, we'll give her a mop head. She's real innovative. She'll turn it into a weave. It's fine.
It's fine. It's fine. We like her. She's advanced.
Yeah.
So much happened, and yet so little.
I mean, more of the same.
More of the
same spot.
Yeah. Did you miss us, listeners? Sluts, as we like to call you.
Yeah.
Apparently, they're the sluts. So
obsessed.
let's get out with a quick hit of dopamine, as if we haven't given you enough. There's a lot of dopamine here. I have a few. I think this one's left over from 6 weeks ago, and we never had an episode because sinuses. Waffle House is installing EV chargers.
Great.
And you know what? I'm going to take that as a win because that is definitely something that is holding me back from investing in an EV in an electric vehicle is the lack of, places to charge it and, the road tripification of it all and knowing that if I'm heading anywhere in the direction of the south, there will be a place to charge every few miles and I can have delicious waffles, amazing bacon, and high entertainment
That's
value.
high praise.
You want to slice it, dice it. What is it? Slice it, dice it, smother.
Yeah, smothered hash browns,
smack your mom.
Something. Because someone's mom is getting slapped at Waffle House. And I just want to be a fly on the wall.
I feel like the way they describe the hash browns is also how you're going to shit it out later.
I'm not mad at it.
You know, it's like, girl,
So good going
I was
in.
smothered,
Runny.
covered, and diced on that toilet after it comes out. But you know what's ironic about all of this is the infrastructure bill passed by the Biden administration expanded EVs, and yet Mr. Electric Car Man was like, put the opposite of that in office. Like, you'd think, anyway.
Thinking that he would listen, but he doesn't. So there's that. Also, for Texans, this is, since every once in a while the legislature does something right. Property tax relief is coming to Texans. Homestead exemption is being raised to $100,000 or $140,000 if you are elderly or disabled. That gets voted on later this year.
But then they're going to raise the age of what's considered elderly.
Oh, sure.
And they're going to get rid of disability.
Sure. This is a quick hit of dopamine.
I know,
Okay, let
I'm
us have our
sorry.
little moments. And early access is being expanded in the state of Texas to continue on to the Monday before election and not end the Friday before. So it gives a whole nother weekend.
I'm obsessed with that.
So that's fantastic. Do y'all have any other quick hits of dopamine?
I didn't do my homework.
Biggest hit of dopamine, and I don't know what nefarious things are at play, but watching Ted Cruz get ripped apart.
Oh, by Tucker Carlson?
By Tucker Carlson
Yes.
was just so, like, seeing Ted Cruz become the bitch that we know he is on television by the world's greatest bitch.
Yes.
It was like a feeling of like that I didn't know I needed, but also put words to.
I was angry at myself for being like
liking it
because it was him, Tucker Carlson. Like, like I want to see Tucker Carlson get ripped apart, but also it's like, okay, what's the game here? Because never in a million years did I think that like the Fox Newsscape would start turning on MAGA. Which is what's happening.
Well, I think did MAGA turn on Tucker, or did Tucker turn on MAGA, or Fox turned on Tucker? Fox turned on Tucker, and I think Ted Cruz. Everyone knows that Ted Cruz is a slimeball, and so now that it's a free for all of sorts, because even Tucker is turning on Trump. There's been some things that he's started to criticize about this administration, the way they're handling things, and so like, yeah, it's a free for all, and let the wolves eat each other.
Yeah, I think MAGA's learning that Trump's not MAGA. Like, no. They're just like, he's just, you pay him and he's your puppet.
And it's going to be so interesting because they're so primed and full of all of this hatred. And it's like when there's nobody to step in and validate it for them, it's like, who are they going to become? Argentinian.
It's going to be that. Well, then, on a last hit of dopamine, Pride is alive and thriving, y'all. We're about halfway through the month of June. There's been a number of Pride events so far. World Pride was in D.C., and despite everything that's going on, it went off without a hitch. Lots of celebrations.
I'm sure
J-Lo. I'm sure
I am booked.
You are booked and busy. We've got Queer Voices coming up this weekend. We've got, there's so much.
You have an amazing drag brunch happening at the Tobin.
Oh, yeah.
That's one of the things I love about San Antonio. San Antonio, I mean, not only did you elect your first lesbian Hispanic mayor, which I'm obsessed with, but like it's always been a gayborhood. I mean, don't get me wrong, there's been moments, but just seeing when I got off the airplane and I saw how many shops at the airport had Pride like up front and center, like even the beer house with like sports in the background was like, here everybody can be who they are,
all means y'all
means y'all,
exactly. That's exactly it.
That's why I just it's nice. And that's so much like the Tobin doing a huge Pride brunch.
Brooklyn Heights, right?
Yeah, Brooklyn Heights.
That's who's performing.
Ironically Canadian.
Yes, I know. I have to travel down to the southeast on a weekly basis, and so I take 281 out there, so I pass the Alamo Dome. That is what it is, right? I don't know. But to see it every night lit up in rainbow colors all month long, I'm like, that's right, San Antonio.
I know it just pisses off people in Stone Oaks because all the Republicans live in Stone Oaks.
They're not San Antonio. It doesn't matter.
No, they're Pueblo Blanquitos, which we love them too, but it's fine.
It's okay. So, to get us out of here, we do like to end with some motivational messages in this bleak world.
Wait, one last quick hit of dopamine.
Oh, okay.
You just recently had a birthday.
I did have a birthday. Yay!
Gemini.
Gemini season. So, not all Geminis are created equal. Because somebody else recently had a birthday.
That. Yeah.
But most of us are pretty good. I share a birthday with Mary-Kate and Ashley Olsen, and I don't know how I feel about that.
I share a birthday with Drake, so you're lucky.
Okay, so motivational message for the week.
You go first.
Sure. My motivational message for the week is brought to you by the Three of Cups, which is a tarot card that is all about community and finding strength in community and celebrating each other. I think with the protests happening this past weekend, with Pride going on all month, I think it is just a reminder that we are social creatures that need each other. And if you feel down, if you feel isolated, if you feel like the sky is falling, right, go out, reach out to your people, right? Find your people, connect with your people, because that is how we will get through all of this, is by coming together as a community. And for some people, like in San Antonio, our community meets in the backyard, right? If you don't like to go out in public places, I totally feel you. There's a place for you and your people to gather. If you are the kind that likes to throw yourself in the middle of downtown during fiesta, then go do that too, because there's plenty of that. But the idea here being like, don't isolate yourself. Don't feel like you're doing this alone, because you're not. And the best way to do it is with 3 full glasses and 3 good friends. So do that.
Cool. Guest.
Mine is, when in doubt, just watch a movie from the 90s.
That's a good one.
Like, or listen to 90s music. Like, there is just something about that moment of time before the internet ruined everything.
Something about Alanis Morissette.
For real, there's something, or, you know,
Montel Jordan. This is how we do it. Is so one of like that should be the national anthem in a lot of ways.
You know what?
Because it's like, for it basically being his one hit, and it's like, what's the point of this song? It's like, this is how we do it.
That's it.
Also,
and it sounds great.
Sister Act.
Sister Act.
1 and 2.
There's always, or Love and Basketball, or Clueless. Like, there's just put it on and remember that, like, good times are ahead
My husband was watching Steel Magnolias the other day.
Oh, great.
You know, like, and any of those.
I'm not depressed. I've just been in a bad mood for 40 years.
Yeah, that's it.
And I'm almost 40, so I can say that.
That's right. Rooster.
My motivational message. I did not do my homework this week.
That's fine.
So this is on the fly.
That's right.
And it is.
What is speaking to you in your gut?
Right now, it is fellowship. Find your
the
fellows.
3 of Cups.
Yes. And be some good fellows. This was some great fellows today. Great times, great people here today. Right. Happy to be here.
So happy to be back.
Yeah. This was fun. I love this.
I missed you, friend.
I know, it's been a minute. And then we've been like
opposite sides of the country.
Sometimes we're like not doing this, but we're like here.
How was Knoxville?
Oh, it was Knoxville.
It was Knoxville. Anywho.
I've been there. Yeah. I did a Pride event there.
They're surprisingly prideful.
Yeah.
That's cool.
But yeah, thank you for sticking around, listeners. We appreciate you all, 37 of you. If you want to support the pod, you can always go to Gemini's, to puropinchepod.com/pod. We got merchandise up there. We got stuff. Like, rate, review, share, subscribe. I don't know. The social media stuff. Thank you to Fonda Koxx for being here this week.
Yes.
If people want to find you, where can they find you?
On Instagram at FKDrag. F is in Frank, K is in Kellogg's Drag.
There you go. Fonda Koxx from New York City by way of San Antonio.
Harlem, what up?
Yeah, Rooster, where can people find you if they want to find you?
They can find me on Instagram at RoostMTZ, ROOSTMTZ.
And in just a few hours, they can find you at the Blah 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 Poetry Spot.
I'm hosting, yeah, it's
That's
gonna be
right.
fun.
By the time you hear this, it will have already happened. So if you
I did great.
That's right. So
Amazing.
I hope you were there. Turned up on a Wednesday.
Where can they find you, Chibby?
They can find me on Instagram, Gemini's GEMINEYES, or TikTok, Gemini's Productions, for all the latest and greatest coming out of this now podcast empire that somehow has been created. Until next time, y'all, stay safe out there.
Dress better, Billie Eilish.